Jasmine with Mama J Pro. Today, we're gonna show you how to make some pie crust and a pecan pie.
Or pecan pie.
If the store-bought crust thaws in time, and a pumpkin pie. You want super cold butter. Cut it into chunks so you're not overworking the machine, which would overwork your flour and dough. You want a really nice flaky crust.
You cut it crooked.
You know, nobody will know.
Until now.
So this recipe is 1 cup of cold butter, 2 cups of flour. I've always used all-purpose flour. I'm sure you could use any other kind of flour that you would like. I would stay away from the nut flours because it would burn. Woo. I do mine in a food processor.
I'm making a mess.
Yeah, that's what makes the pie taste good. Alright, 2 cups of flour.
Video on the weekend, so y'all get to hear my fat mouth. And Mavis walking around in the background stomping her feet. Spill it.
Alright. Butter, flour in the food processor. And pulse. Wait so you guys can really see. Alright, so you want some chunks in there. Then we're going to take the cold water. So there's about a 1/4 cup in there. And there is your pie crust.
Huh?
Put it on the counter. Make a huge mess. Once again.
You use the little tiny tripod.
No, I use that one.
How? Shrink it up?
Yeah, I don't have it fully extended. Alright, so this will make 2 pie crusts, a top and a bottom. We are doing just bottoms for the pumpkin and pecan. For some reason, the pecan recipe tends to eat my pie recipe, pie crust. So I use store-bought because it doesn't disappear into the pie for the pecan. The pumpkin does fine, so we're doing pumpkin with this one. Divide it in 2. Saran wrap and refrigerate for at least a ½ hour. Kind of want nice flat disc. It makes it easier when you go to roll it out because you want to keep it as cold as possible. So when you put it in the oven, it makes everything flaky.
You split it in twain. You gonna mute me out of it?
Nah. Depends on what you say, though.
How you doing?
Alright. That is pie crust. Let it sit for a half hour in the fridge. You can also
Why are
freeze
you
it.
talking to me?
You can also freeze it for about 2 months.
Here's my beautiful wife.
You can also freeze it up to 3 months. Alright, pumpkin pie. This makes 2 pies. So I'm going to put one in the freezer probably, and one in the fridge. So 2 cups of pumpkin. You can use canned. I have fresh.
Not thawed pumpkin.
Yeah, it'll thaw. I pulled it out yesterday, and here we are.
Where'd you get those?
What?
Those are the ones from Halloween?
Yeah, we carved them the night before.
God.
So we carved our pumpkins the day of, and they sat out in the cold, cold weather. They were perfectly safe to eat. It was below 40. Halloween night. I didn't use the tops. Okay. Cold, cold for Northern Californian people, okay?
Sub-average, how about that?
Kind of break up my frozen pumpkin there. Alright. 1 cup of flour, sugar, yes, 1 cup. That's because I got pumpkin in that one. Alright. Oops, I didn't pull that out. Molasses. Maybe. Haha. So the molasses will turn my pumpkin pie a little brown instead of that bright orange that you get at like the grocery store pies. But it tastes so much better. And we can okay. 6 eggs. Separate quick. Cinnamon, 2 teaspoons. Nutmeg is 1, half to 1. That one's going for a preference thing. And that's 1 tablespoon. So ginger. You can use ground, dried, or frozen, or fresh. I freeze mine, and you just take a grasp, and you don't have to peel it that way. and 2 cups of milk. There is the pumpkin pie filling. I still have I have no idea what time I even put the pie crust in. I'm going to say at least another 15 minutes for the pie crust to set up in the fridge. So I'll bring you guys back out for that. Okay. Alrighty, pie dough is nice and firm now. Yep. Flour your surface bigger than you think you're really going to need. Otherwise you'll end up with pie dough that sticks to your counter. Before we go any further, some people roll the dough up onto the rolling pin and then unroll it back onto the pie pan. I do the fold method. Fold it in half. And then get it in there.
Waffle.
Alright, and there's one. Set this in the fridge. Hold. one going. It's like pumpkin or any other kind of custard that you bake. It's easier to put them on the oven rack and then pour the filling into it. Otherwise, you're trying to balance very runny pies. Not a perfect method, but it still works. So bake at 350 for, I think, 45 minutes. Yeah. Check at 30 minutes and then usually cook for about 45. Alright, pecan pie or walnut pie are the first holidays that my husband and I spent together. Kept asking for pecan pie. I kept making all different sorts of pecan pie recipes that I could find. Wasn't right. Finally asked his grandma what it was, and she uses walnuts. So it's a nut pie. So we're gonna start with 3/4 cup white corn syrup. And if you spray your cups with cooking spray, the sticky stuff doesn't stick in it. So I got dark. So we're gonna do 2 light, 1 dark. Maybe. My lord. Hey!
Neat.
Making the mixture for the
Pecan.
nut pie. Alright, and then 3/4.
Are you live?
Yep. Should be. So caramel topping, 3/4 cup. 2.
Pretty nails, baby. I see you've already ruined one of them.
Yep, it didn't even get to dry and she. And I should have opened this before. Just one.
What's that?
Agava.
Guave?
Whatever.
Excuse you.
One.
Oh no.
Woo!
Dose and a half.
Alright, I'm gonna add eggs in now. eggshell on the ground.
Order this speaker. Here you go, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Alright, so adding the eggs now before the melted butter is going to help protect the eggs from being cooked. Also, adding the butter in slowly will help from cooking the eggs. Also, a half a cup of sugar. Any nut pie is basically sugar and nuts. Slowly add in the butter. Should cool down enough. That's cooled down enough. So the butter is a half cup. I use salted butter. If you use unsalted, you'll want to add a half a teaspoon of salt. It says 3/4 of a cup chopped nuts. I usually do about a cup. Make sure everything is combined. And you'll end up with something that looks like this. And then when it's turned to be put in the oven, I will dump it in a pie pan and bake it at 350. I don't have the time written down, I believe. Alright, so here is 30 minutes. What they look like, they're way too wobbly. So they're nowhere near done. So we're gonna put them in for another 15 minutes. Alrighty, so I let them go in for another 10 minutes. The smaller one was done. I don't know if you guys can tell. It jiggles a little bit, but the toothpick test comes back clean. The other one was just a hair jiggly, and the toothpick did not come out clean. But we're close enough to where we can assemble the pecan pie dish. I let my pie shell just sit in the fridge to keep it cold. Always want to keep your pie crust cold. But I kept the filling out on the counter. Otherwise the butter would have grease hardened and you would end up with random chunks of butter. I learned that the hard way. It's not very good. Alrighty, for the whipped cream, you want a really cold bowl, and it's best with the whisk. I don't have that. I lost it in one of the moves. The paddle works just fine. I guess I'll dig out a measuring cup to kind of give you guys an idea. So, about a cup of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to say a tablespoon and a half of powdered sugar and a splash of vanilla. Start off slow. And slowly increase. Oh, I want it pretty thick, stiff peaks. So I'm gonna let it go for what seems like an eternity. can also do this with a hand whisk if you're insane. Even camping, I've done it with a plastic water bottle. Just shake it and pass it around.
Ooh, I see. I'm only part of a Mama J.